Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm sharing several card ideas that feature a grid design. I love a good grid layout when I'm making a card, and I often use grids for my card making. In fact, I have another video on my channel that shares a look at various grids you can use for your cards. I have it linked here and in the video description below. In this video, I'm making cards and grids with the help of the Spellbinders Monster Birthday collection. It is a new collection for January 2024. It just went live today, and it features adorable images of little critters. There are balloon number dies to make birthday cards, and also a sentiment stamp set with funny and punny messages. It's a really cute collection. Okay, let's jump onto the card making process and take a look at some of the cards. Now, all of the grid designs that I'm sharing today, they are all 2x2 grids. You can have other grids on your cards. The size of these die cuts prompted me to go with a 2x2 grid design. These die cuts are pretty large, so I couldn't go any smaller. I did not use the dinosaur die for my cards today. I did die cut to show you how the dinosaur looks, and she's super adorable. But what I'm trying to say is the dinosaur die is a little bit too big for the 2x2 grid design. You can go with like 1x2 or skip the whole grid and use the dinosaur. I just wanted to mention that. Anyhow, all the other dies are small enough. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They're all small enough for the 2x2 grid, but they're too large for a smaller grid. Of course, you don't have to do grids. I just find grids super fun because they're easy to put together. You just die cut one element 4 times and you have yourself a fun card. So first we have the adorable little panda die, and here I've assembled one using white and black cardstock. And what makes this die super cute is the fact that there is a bow die. You just add the bow, and I don't know, your panda starts to look very kind of, I don't know, smart or dressy or festive. I don't know, but it makes the critter look very adorable. Now there are only 3 dies in this set, so the dies are grouped together, making it very easy to use these. So you die cut the head and the body from white cardstock, and you die cut the legs, the eyes, the ears, and the hands from black cardstock, or you can cut it from various shades of gray cardstock, so it doesn't have to be black. So the die is designed in a very smart way, so you don't have a million different pieces. You're not trying to figure out what is meant to be used for what. It's just easy to use and makes the die cutting process very easy and enjoyable. Now, for this card, I went ahead and I die cut 4 pandas. I used different shades of gray cardstock. One of the grays that I picked was a little bit too light. It was just like way too light. I think it was fog cardstock, either from Simon Says Stamp or from Spellbinders. These both are very light gray colors. So if you want to copy this card, and if you're trying to use cardstock from your stash, make sure you're using black or some darker gray colors of cardstock so that your panda doesn't look too pale. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. The bow, I die cut the bow from the Spellbinders glitter cardstock. I first die cut one from yellow, as you can see on that example there. I also die cut one from pink, but I figured, you know what? I like to add a little bit of glitter to my cards, so I went ahead and I die cut the bow from glitter cardstock. Plus, I have the new glitter cardstock in my stash, so why not use it? Now, when you want to create the mouth for your panda, there is a die cut opening. So what you do is you just add a piece of pink cardstock from the back or red cardstock from the back of the opening. You do not need to die cut it. You just back your die cut with a piece of colored cardstock and you have the mouth created. Now, when I'm assembling these pieces, I like to assemble the head, but I do not adhere the hands or the legs right away because I'm not quite sure at this point where I want these positioned on my card. So I will go to assemble these later once I am putting the card together. So here's a look at the pandas that I have put together. Like I said, I have one that is a little bit too pale gray. That shade of gray cardstock just did not work for this particular panda, but I wanted to show you that you don't necessarily need to use black. Of course, black does look the best, but you can also use different shades of gray for this die cut. Now, I love that the hands are a separate die and that you have two separate hands because this allows you to play with the hands placement. You can have the hands go up or down, or have one go up and one go down. So there's lots you can do. Okay, to put this card together, I created a grid using colored cardstock. So I used colored cardstock from my stash. I have two shades of blue here, a lighter and a darker shade. And I use those to emphasize the grid on my card. You'll see me do this a lot throughout this video. So first, I adhered those panels onto a background. I used the same color background as one of the lighter shades of cardstock. I adhered my rectangles onto that background, and then I trimmed any excess, and I added that onto an A2 card base. Now I'm using foam adhesive squares, and I'm assembling my pandas. Now, these are dancing dies. That means that you have that opening in the legs. If that looks kind of weird to you, that's what makes the die cut dance or move. All you need to do is you need to add a foam square, or better yet, a foam circle if you have one. I don't have any foam circles, so I'm using foam squares and I'm just trimming them to size. So you need to add a foam circle or a foam square inside that opening. Make sure that it does not block that opening, and make sure that the die cut can move freely. And then you add your panda body over that. And it basically secures the legs in place. The legs can move. They can move from left to right, yet they're not going to fall off your card. They're there, but they move. So it's a fun little interactive element. I love cards like this. Spellbinders has several collections with dancing dies. There are quite a lot of different dancing dies. There are some Christmas dancing dies, there are Halloween dancing dies. Now we have these adorable dancing critters. So super, super cute. To create a sentiment for this card, I cut one of the sentiments that is included in the stamp set. I cut it apart because I needed to have it spawn over two banners, and I stamped it onto a piece of cardstock, and then I cut it out using a banner die from my stash. And so I have one panda hold one part of the banner, Hope Your Day, and then the other panda hold the other part of the banner, Is Fantastic. So that was how I created the sentiment. And I also added a couple of yellow hearts onto this card. And these were made using an older die from Spellbinders from the Open Mailbox collection. I'll have it linked in the video description below for you. Moving on, here is a look at the dragon die. I have already assembled this one, and I made this one into a red dragon because I was kind of thinking Chinese New Year, but not quite. Plus, I wanted to experiment with the different colors. Now, this die, in addition to the dragon itself, comes with a little crown that you can put on top of the dragon, and there's even a tiny little gift that you can have the dragon hold. I used the crown on one of the pandas in my previous card, and now I'm just going to add the gift onto this dragon for him to hold it. To create this card, I once again created a grid. This time, I did not emphasize the grid using colored cardstock. Instead, I used a sheet of Barely Peach cardstock for the background. I did use the number dies, and I turned one of the numbers into a balloon. So number 5 is a balloon because I added that little balloon piece at the bottom. I also added ink blending to the top of the number 5 just to help it stand out from the background. And I foam mounted my numbers onto the background. So the numbers are what creating a grid on this card. I am going to add my dragon over the numbers in the center to finish this card. I did move the numbers slightly to the top later as I remembered that I did not stamp a sentiment for this card. So I just repositioned them slightly closer to the top of this card. I stamped a sentiment using my mini Misty. I just stamped Happy Birthday, and that finished this card. I also added googly eyes onto my dragon. You can see how dimensional they look. And I added a couple of aura sequins to finish this card off. Okay, moving on. So I have another card with the dragons, and here I wanted to show you how I actually assemble the dragon dies. They are, again, very easy to put together. If you are ever unsure about how to assemble your die cuts, be sure to go to the Spellbinders website. They have lots of examples on the website. Sometimes they have PDFs I did not see PDFs this time. Maybe they haven't published them yet. I'm not sure. But usually for detailed dies like this, where there's like a million pieces, there is a PDF, a handy PDF that tells you how to put the pieces together. In this case, just go to the website, look at the examples, and that will be pretty straightforward. That will explain how the pieces need to be assembled, where each piece goes. Many of the dies have special indentations on them, like this dragon body here, and the indentations will tell you where you need to attach the hands and the legs for your critter. So that's super handy. Although you don't necessarily have to follow that guide, you can be creative and attach them differently. So that's completely up to you, but the guides are there for you to help you assemble the pieces. Now for this card, I once again did a grid. I created a grid by using colored cardstock. I have this beautiful green from Spellbinders and also gold glitter paper. I was kind of in the mood to use glitter paper and I wanted to use a lot of it, so I figured why not use it as a part of a background for my card. I foiled a sentiment on both of the green cardstock panels. This one says confetti enclosed, it's your birthday. This also comes from the open mailbox collection from Spellbinders from several years ago. It is one of my favorite collections. I still use a lot. I still use it a lot. So I foiled both in gold foil. I do have a little bit of overfoiling, and what I'm doing here, this is something new that I started doing whenever I do foiling. I now use low-tech tape. This is the Spellbinders Best Ever Craft tape. I now use it to remove overfoiling. You know, we always say when you're taping something down, make sure you're not placing tape over your foiled image because it can remove some of the foil. And indeed it can. If you press down very hard, if you burnish over your tape, it will pick up some of the foiled image. But if you press it down lightly, just like press it down with your fingers, it will only remove the overfoiling. So I'm now using that to remove any overfoiling that I have on my images, and I find that it works really well. I still sometimes use my pencil eraser or sanding eraser, but this is like the first thing that I do. If I have overfoiling, I will use my Best Ever Craft tape to remove it. So now I am building my background, and you can see that I have a sheet of green cardstock as my background. I'm then adding my rectangle pieces one by one. I'm using magnets. I'm working on my magnetic glass mat, and I'm using magnets to press the pieces down while the glue is drying. Now, I have found that this is the best way to assemble these grid backgrounds. I don't like to adhere the pieces directly onto my card base because, well, let's be honest, these are cut using a paper trimmer. I did not cut these using a die, so I cut them using a paper trimmer, and of course they're not 100% perfect. They're not 100% the same size, so I have a little bit of size difference in these. So sometimes I need to trim things down, and when I have them adhered onto a separate panel, I can easily do that, because if I adhere them onto a card base and something is off, it would be kind of hard to trim that excess. So with that done, I can now add my little dragons. And again, I did not assemble all of the pieces when I was putting my dragons together because I wanted to assemble them on my card. With a dragon, you have the whole body of the dragon move, not just the legs. So you can have that option. You don't necessarily have to have your dragon move. As you saw in my previous card, I made sure that nothing moved. So here I'm just using foam adhesive squares, and once again I am planning the placement of the elements and adhering everything in place. For one of the dragons, I have the tail go down onto the sentiment panel, and for the other dragon I will have the tail go up because there's no room if I let it go down. So it goes up, but from the other side of the dragon. And here's a look at the finished card. I also added a couple of hearts cut from teal, and they come from that same mailbox collection. I'll have that linked in the video description below. The next die set in this collection is one with the monsters, and you have several options. In fact, this die set gives you the most options, the most different little pieces to customize your monster. So you can have a one-eyed monster, a 3-eye monster or a 2-eye monster, whatever you want to do. The monster also has an opening for his mouth, and you can have different teeth. I even made one monster with his tongue sticking out. There's the die to die cut a little horns or little ears for the monster. So again, you have lots of options. For this monster, I decided I wanted to add the googly eye. So I pulled one from my stash and I added one in the center of the cute little monster. I didn't show you how I put these monsters together because, well, the assembly process is pretty much the same, but you can see I have another grid here. I did not use colored cardstock to emphasize the grid. I'm just using a solid sheet of colored cardstock. Instead, I broke up the design into sections by placing 2 monsters in the opposite sections, and then again I have the sentiments in the other 2 opposite sections. The legs move on just one of the monsters. I also added googly eyes onto the smaller eyes above the monster, and I even added the eyes onto the number 5. I just thought it was a fun thing to do. I was kind of in a fun and playful mood, so I added the eyes onto the number 5. I even die cut some party hats and added those onto my card as well. And I even added a tiny little heart onto the monster that's hiding behind the number 5. I used my Jelly Roll pen and I added white highlighting onto the indentations that were created by the die when I was making these monsters. This just added a little bit of extra interest to this project. Okay, moving on. I have a bonus card for you. This does not feature a grid design, but I kind of wanted to make another card with a hard-eyed monster. So I used the Arches die from this collection to create a card base, and then I die cut a monster with hard eyes. Now, I also wanted to mention the Make-A-Wish Arch Labels die in this collection. They look like the Essential Arches dies that were previously released by Spellbinders, and they look like they would coordinate with Essential Arches, but they do not. They are, in fact, a little bit shorter. The arch shape is the same, but they're not as tall or as long as the Essential Arches. I thought they are the same. I thought they would coordinate and I thought I would be able to mix and match, but they're not. They are just a little bit shorter, as you can see here. You can still use the 2 dies together. You'll just have to do a little bit of extra die cutting when you're using the Essential Arch die to make sure that it's the same length as the Make-A-Wish arches. Now, the Make-A-Wish arches, they have that extra detail added to them. It looks very beautiful. They also have a little tag built into the die set, and there's even a sentiment. It says Make-A-Wish. So it is a pretty cool die set. I really enjoyed using it for my card making. I did use it to make that monster card, a shaped card, but I just wanted to mention that it does not coordinate with the Essential Arches. Now, I used balloon strings from the birthday numbers die set. I used those as strings for the monster to hold the sentiment banner. I kind of had this idea. I wanted the monster to have his hands up in the air as if he is holding something. And I thought that that was a great opportunity for me to create a sentiment and for him to hold that sentiment. The sentiment comes from the Better Press sentiment set. I really like this sentiment set because I'm able to create a bunch of sentiments at once and then die cut a bunch of sentiments at once. That's how I've been making most of my sentiments recently. And I have this little cup where I store all the extra sentiments that I have made. There are actually several sets, Better Press sets, and even Glimmer sets from Spellbinders, similar to this one. They all work in a similar way where you have one plate and then a coordinating die to cut all of the sentiments at once. I have die cut 2 panels from colored cardstock, and I'm just going to add a score line onto one of the panels so that I can create a card base. So here's a look at that die. I'm going to use my Spellbinders trimmer to add the score line. The trimmer comes with 2 blades. There is a cutting blade and also a scoring blade. So you can use the scoring blade to add score lines to your cards or to your die cuts. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just aligning the panel along the bottom edge of my trimmer, and I'm using the scoring blade to add the score line. So now I have one scored and one non-scored die cut. I'm just going to emphasize that score line, fold along it, and add some glue and stick the two die cuts together so that I can create a shaped card base. I'm going to add magnets on top to press down while the glue is drying. Now my card base is ready and I can begin assembling. So I'm going to first add the dancing legs. Here I went with a slightly different color combination. So I'm using pink, touches of red, and a little bit of orange. So I'm using orange for the legs and also for the horns. And of course I have red for the heart eyes and then the pink for the body of my monster. Like I said, I used balloon strings for the little pieces that hold the banner, and I die cut those from gold glitter cardstock from Spellbinders. I just added some foam adhesive from the back. I did adhere them with glue, but I also added a piece of a foam adhesive square from the back to make sure that they were nice and secure. And that finishes my card. This is a super simple project. I did add a couple of sequins and some dots that and some white jelly roll pen dots, but that's a super simple card. I think this card is my favorite just because the monster has googly eyes. I'm kind of in like Valentine's Day mode, you can say. So I'm kind of drawn to making Valentine's Day cards, but I know I don't need that many Valentine's Day cards. So I made the other cards non-Valentine's Day. Now, all of these products are available separately, but if you like them all, you can get them all as a bundle and save. Now, keep in mind, the bundle does not include everything in this collection. It does not include the smart glasses die set. I don't have this die set and I'm not using it for my cards today. But this is a super fun die set and it cuts a bunch of different glasses that you can add onto your critters to change how they look. There's also a set of really cool eye stickers called Monster Eyes. I don't have the stickers either, but they are super fun to use as eyes for your critters. Now, all die sets, they have the dies to die cut the eyes out, but if you want to add some extra little detail or if you want your eyes to look kind of special, you can use those stickers. I used googly eyes from my stash for some of my cards. You can use that too, but I just wanted to mention the stickers and the glasses dies in case you are interested in those because I nearly missed them and I think they are super, super cute. Anyhow, this video is quite long. Thank you so much for sticking with me. As you can tell, I really love this Monster Birthday collection from Spellbinders. There's a bunch of other products that are releasing today, and you can check them out on the Spellbinders website. I have a link to them in my video description below, along with links to all the other products that I used. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.